Right now, most men drift through their 20s without ever asking the questions that actually define who they'll become. They chase approval, comfort, and quick wins, then wake up one day wondering why they feel so empty. Recently, I sat down with 3 guys in their 20s and asked them to bring me the biggest, toughest questions they believe every young man needs to face head on.
How do you find the line of empowering, encouraging your partner without applying pressure on you to succeed?
How do I overcome the battle of lust?
What do I buy on the first date?
These aren't easy questions, and honestly, most men avoid them their entire lives. Make sure you watch all the way to the end because the last question is where things got a bit controversial. Now, welcome, gents. Marcus, Joel, Nick.
Hey,
Thanks for being here.
How you going?
You guys have some questions, I believe, and Joel, you're going to lead us off. What do you want to know?
Sure. Something that I'm discovering more and more in conversation with young men is the battle of lust.
Okay.
So a question I have for you is,
Yes.
how do I overcome the battle of lust in
Yes.
today's world?
That's a great question. How do you overcome? Look, I think there's 2 ways I'll answer it. Number one is I'll say that it's probably a never-ending war is the first thing I'd say. So for me, this would have been a highly prominent question for me as a 20-something. But here's some good news or bad news, depending on your perspective. That war is not gone as a 50-year-old man. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is to let your guard down is to ask for a punch in the face. So my first response is the battle for a man of any age to combat lust and wandering eyes and thinking things that you really probably should steer clear of. It's an ongoing arm wrestle. Now, I can't obviously speak on behalf of all men, but I've had a lot of experience talking to lots of men, and lots of them would concur. And my second part of how I would answer that is I say, it seems to me after 50 years, I'm not 85, but I'm not 17 anymore either. I've been around the block a few times now in the journey. It seems to me that the most dangerous and vulnerable part of that war is the first few seconds. And that's hard for young men today, really hard, because, when I was in high school, if you wanted to go and look at inappropriate images, you had to rummage around. You had to ask friends, whether you saw images of women that were inappropriate because you were pursuing it or it was somewhat indirect and accidental. The main point when I was a young man is that it was not easily accessible. Right. And this is where one of the biggest hurdles are for young fellas today is the accessibility is so low, it's almost non-existent. It's in front of you everywhere. And, whether it's on a screen or, you're driving down the street to go get a coffee and you have to drive past, 8 women who are either in Lycra so tight there's no guesswork left, or so skimpy that it's almost showing everything anyway. It's very, very difficult for young men and any men to keep their eyes on the straight path. And people will throw around ideas like, oh, there's nothing wrong with eye candy. And look, I get the sentiment of what they're saying, because what they're saying is, look, if you're only looking and not touching, it's probably less destructive. Well, that's probably true. But the problem is that the first few seconds of that alluring into a thought pattern that's not going to do you good, that's where the war is won and lost. And so I would say to young guys and to middle-aged men, because this, as I said, it's to me, it seems like it's a war that you never fully win. You never fully conquer this mountain. It's like you get to the peak of the mountain and then someone says there's 1,000 feet to go. It's like, what? I've been fighting this for years. And I think a lot of guys get ashamed, embarrassed, feel guilty that they're still fighting it. But when that war is thrown in your face all the time, it's somewhat unavoidable. And so I would say the smartest path is set your goal marker as try to win a majority of the time. Try to be in a conquering scenario as often as possible. And it seems to me the key to that is to win it in the first few seconds. And practically, What does that look like? To me, what it looks like is when the opportunity or the temptation presents, if I'm not sharp to speak to myself and go, Andrew, because I do, you know, and there's some people who know me and know my background, that I've been an ordained minister, you know, and a Christian man my whole adult life, might be shocked at what I'm about to say, but I like to live in the real world, not pretend world. I still have to have those conversations to myself and say, Andrew, you don't. Why? Because whether people watching like it or not, and there's a lot of people in our world who don't like what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. The fact is, God designed men to be attracted through their eyes. We're visual creatures. And so if you put an attractive girl in really tight lycra walking down the street as you're driving, you're going to be attracted to the sight of her. Many women won't understand that that doesn't mean that you're trying to walk out on your relationship and commitment to her. That's not what it means. But what it does mean is, as men, we've got to be careful about how often do we allow ourselves, if at all, to feast on those entree delicacies. And if you do give yourself freedom in those early first few seconds, you're going to lose the war most of the time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
What else?
You boys got any questions for
The boss?
Yeah, I got a question. As a young dad,
Yes.
what can you give me and to other young dads on how to raise a young boy into a man?
Oh, that's a great question. I love this question. I'm particularly passionate about the importance of fatherhood in our world. There's a lot we could say about it, including the fact that masculinity and the role of fathers has had the snot bashed out of it for decades. I roll my eyes and I get frustrated when I'm watching something on TV or social media and advertisers are still playing the same old game of presenting the dad as the idiot of the family, or, you know, the village idiot who always trips over and always makes the stupid statement. Make the woman that role in a commercial and watch hell rain down on the planet. But it's okay to do it to men, apparently, and dads especially. The dumb old dad. Oh, there's an ad on TV at the moment, and I get really fired up, as most of you know, about quite a lot of things. I've made a personal commitment to boycott this brand for the rest of my life. Well, here's another one. I boycotted Gillette as a brand years ago when they got on TV and tried to lecture us all about not being aggressive because that's toxic. I thought, you lot make bloody razor blades. I don't need you to be my mum. I've got one. And if you're going to be my mum, your advice is so bad. I thought, you lot have stepped into some murky waters. Is not your place. There's an ad on TV right now for a cough and cold medication. And the dad comes down the stairs wrapped in blankets and tissues coming out of his nostrils because he's got a heavy cold. And, you know, we all like to joke about the man flu and whatever. But the mother and the daughter are at the kitchen bench, all dressed nicely, ready for their day because they're proactive. They're boss bitches. Oh, you're allowed to say that. Too late, I already did. And dad comes downstairs with a cold and he's looking for a little bit of help for something with what he's going through. And the wife, in front of the daughter, looks at him with this disgusting look of disdain, like, you filthy, germ-carrying feral beast. And she goes, she gives a reference to the chemist that he should go to, and then she goes, to deal with that. Like he's a fungus. But it's been normalised. The dad is the moron. The dad's the idiot. So I'm hugely passionate about strengthening men, strengthening dads. If we've got no dads, the hellish world we're in goes completely to hell. Young dads, what should you do? Here's a few tips. You have to be the dominant voice in their life. That's the first thing. For the guidelines, for the encouragement, for the accountability, for the responsibility, for how they speak to others, how they treat others. You're the one who's going to set the agenda. You know, I've got an 11-year-old son. And, you know, he probably can hear me in the background, and that's okay. I don't mind because he's here today. But I talk to him often. He's a very kind soul. He treats people respectfully. He's very well-mannered. We constantly get comments from teachers and others about how well-mannered he is, and he treats people with respect. And I'm proud of that, and I want him to continue it. But he is growing up in a world that is really angry and really disrespectful and really selfish, And so I've had to bolster him with, mate, strong and kind are not enemies. You can continue to be kind, but that does not mean that anybody on this planet is allowed to put their hands on you or their words on you. So why am I doing that? Because I'm helping him to chart the territory of how life is. So number one is you got to be the dominant voice. The second thing I'd say is they have to get manhood from you.
Great.
I've been married nearly 26 years. I have no complaint with my wife's mothering of our son and our daughter. But she's a mum. She's a woman. She cannot do manning. And if she starts to, I'm out. She's not designed that way. She's not meant to be. So masculinity for your son, although he's only 2, it's already begun. He gets it from you. He's looking at you and he wants love. He wants encouragement. He wants inclusion, etc. But he's also subconsciously going, how do I be a man? Doesn't even know it yet. It's only coming from you. And if it doesn't, you will create a vacuum that somebody else will step into.
That's good.
And that's what we're seeing going on in the world so much. So I would say they're the biggest things. You've got to be number one voice with your wife. You know, you're both great parents. But as a man, you've got to be the number one voice for your son. And he's looking to you to show him what masculinity is all about. So to all young dads, have like great courage. Step into it. Go after it. Don't listen to people who want to tell you to not be a man. You'll regret it because you only get one shot. So, hey guys, if you're enjoying this content, I'd love you to subscribe to my newsletter. I call it Original Masculinity Letters to Men. I'm writing to inspire you and encourage you on your masculine journey on the way to recovering your masculine heart. If you'd love to be part of that, there's a link in the description below. Click on that, and that's how you can join and get these newsletter episodes that come out regularly. What else? Marcus got something there?
Yeah, 100%. I guess as a man that's freshly married.
Yes.
And
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. 2 months. Very, very, very fresh. And I guess for any young guys that are, I guess, in serious relationships or thinking about marriage or already married, I heard somewhere that like strong men, like one of their duties is to empower, I guess, people around them. I would say, I guess that sort of leaks over into the home. Like you should be someone that empowers your wife and your kids or something like that.
For sure.
How do you find the line of like empowering and like encouraging your, I guess, your partner, your wife, or your partner, whoever you're dating, without, I guess, sort of like applying, I guess, pressure on them to succeed in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. A great question. Really broad subject, obviously, but I'll try and hone in on a couple of things. There's 2 phrases I'll give you first, and then I'll qualify it a little bit. On this channel, I talk all the time around this language of original masculinity, because I'm trying to swim upstream against a torrent of nonsense around what manhood is, right? So I say original masculinity, and then I define it with 3 words: protection, provision, empowerment. There's a lot of things that men are meant to do in life, but they're 3 of the big ones. We are there to protect. Now, there will be people, maybe even in the comments, who go, "What are you saying? Women can't protect?" It's not what I said. But good luck if your entire military is built on women only. Good luck if your entire police force is built on women only. Men are strong, the end. It's part of their role, built in, hardwired to protect. We're there to provide as well. Oh, are you saying you want a 1950s wife? No, my wife goes to work. Women, of course, can go to work and earn and contribute to the house as well. What I am saying is men do not have the option to not see themselves as providers. It's about that. And the empowerment word that you picked up on, 100%. A good man wants the best for the people around him. That includes his wife. That includes his fiance, his girlfriend. In the future, that includes his children. How does that look? It looks by understanding, it looks like this: understanding uniqueness of design. Your wife is not the same as my wife, same as his wife, same as his future wife, same as his wife. They're all different. We're all different as men. An empowering man learns to understand, how is my wife shaped? What are her gifts? What are her strengths? What are her passions? What does she love in life? What turns her on? What turns her off? What is a real cold starter for her, in other people as well as in me. Learn her so that you can then become the voice of encouragement to her.
Yeah.
So in practice, empowerment looks like I understand your shape. Now I'm actively working to help open doors for you to use your shape, and I'll be your biggest cheerleader when you succeed at your shape.
Yeah,
that's what empowerment looks like.
Good.
And that's innate or hardwired and built into the role of a man.
Yeah.
Do all men do it? No. But every man has the hardwired potential to be that guy. And so original masculinity, protect, provide, empower. I've forgotten what my other phrase was going to be, but that's okay. Always have your PPE with you. It's very important. And so a lot of that comes down to discussion on the journey, talking about roles. You know, this is how we relate now. What's your personality? What's mine? What's your love language? What's mine? Yeah. Where are we good at communication? Where are we not? Have we ever had fights and did we resolve it properly? Most people in today's world go into committed relationship or marriage having never had any coaching on that.
Yeah.
You got to go do 40 hours, in Australia, you got to do 120 hours of practice driving before they'll let you steer a car. And you can get married at a courthouse
Just like that.
with zero training.
Yeah.
And it's not the only problem with our divorce rates, but it's one of the big ones. People are not asking, how do I do this?
Yeah.
You're taking two completely different people and trying to make them one for 60 or 70 years.
Yeah.
You know, and you and I have been in a context of talking about this previously. One of the big ones that is often missed is 10 years from now, you're waking up to a different girl than the one you married.
It's true.
Not because of infidelity, people, but because everyone's still changing.
Yeah.
We're all growing. So hopefully Marcus is not the same Marcus in 10 years as he is today because he will have grown.
Yeah, that's good.
And more of who he really is will have emerged. Well, does your wife still love you then? Well, if she commits to it, she can. Will she like everything about you? We don't know until we get there. But that's the journey of commitment, making this thing a merge. And I'm troubled by how little work is done pre-marriage in today's world. People don't even know how to have an argument and resolve it.
Yeah.
People don't know how to talk about roles. And you tie that into these two powerful narratives to our young men of put your aggression down. In fact, be a woman in a man's body. That's what we'd really like from you. That's what's getting said to our young men a lot. And to our young women, what they're hearing is, you're just as capable as him, babe. You can jump as high, lift as much. Why do we want to be the other gender?
Yeah. Good.
Why doesn't a man want to be a man? Why can't a woman celebrate being a woman?
Yeah.
Because we're not us, those morons out there somewhere, have deliberately confused it all. And so young men and young women, they don't even know their start point of reference before they go, do we know how to have conflict resolution, all this stuff? But for empowerment, it's a mutual thing as well. Yeah. And again, this is what scares me for our young men in committed relationship. So many of our young girls are being taught his role is to treat you like a princess. And what are you going to do? What do you mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit at home and be a princess. Well, bollocks to that. You ain't marrying me, sister. And we need more young men who will have enough spine in their manhood to go to, and enough love to say to their partner, why would I let you languish that much that you're just going to become an oxygen thief and a drain on society? You're just going to sit at home and consume resources when you've been made into a magnificent being with unique contributions to make? Yeah. That's hatred. Yeah. That's not love. So to our young men who are going, oh yeah, but you know, she's so goal-oriented and maybe it is just my role to treat her like a princess. Get ready for a hell of a life, mate, because that's what you're going to have, a hell of a life. Yeah. Empowerment is teamwork. It's a two-way street. Yeah. He is not there to exclusively empower her and she just receives it all. She's got a role to play in empowering him too.
Yeah, that's great. Really good.
It's a huge subject and I love it, but that would be some of my thoughts around it. Yeah, cool. You guys got any other questions? Joel's getting ready.
I'm ready.
It's bumping.
Okay, so
it's been inspired. That was some good dating advice.
I'm ready.
Do it.
All right, so
what do I buy on the first date?
awkward.
Okay, so how does a young man, or how does a man overcome the childhood trauma of the absence of a father?
Oh, wow.
At different stages. So I guess and the effect it has if you let it linger and drag on into your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and what that effect has throughout those different, I guess, milestones in life.
Yeah. Awesome question. We're getting into the meaty stuff now, aren't we? This is good. This is good. How does a young man overcome the childhood trauma of fatherlessness through the stages of life? Okay, I'll try and be punchy and hit the biggest stuff. Number one, acknowledge there is trauma. Well, I don't need a dad anyway. He was a dickhead. Okay. He might have been. But that hasn't changed your hardwiring that you were designed to want a father's voice in your life. So a lot of our young men won't even start with self-honesty. Starts with that, acknowledge it. Right. Maybe your dad was, and I don't mean your dad specifically, I'm talking to everyone listening. Maybe your dad was not around at all. Maybe he was around, but when he was, everyone was on eggshells, scared. Maybe your dad was a real struggler. He had addiction problems and just could not get it together. Maybe your dad tried his best, but was just an emotional retard. Maybe you're one of the lucky few, like 1 in 40 or 50 who had a sensational dad. He was great with his language. He hugged you all the time. He said, I love you, I'm proud of you, so much that you got bored of hearing it. A few people get that. Most don't. Fatherlessness trauma, to some degree, in some expression, is very real and epidemic. Healing from it starts with acknowledgement of it. And an acknowledgement of it starts with a belief we need our dads. Now, there will be people who watch perhaps, and there's certainly people out and about in society who go, oh, toughen up, drink a glass of concrete. And I go, thank God you're not my dad. Because that is some of the worst advice you could possibly ever hear. Harden up. Oh, so take your wounds, right? So what I want you to do is to go outside, cut your arm with a knife, fill it with dirt, and then stitch the wound closed. And then go to the pub and tell your mates, hey, guess what I did? I cut my arm and I put dirt in it and I stitched it up. Yeah. And your mates are going to go, you're an idiot. You should go to the hospital. You're an idiot. But with our soul, that's what we encourage people to do. Pretend, suppress it, shove it down. It didn't happen. Oh, we're not allowed to use this language anymore, so I won't use it. But in the 1980s, we used it a lot. You were a certain kind of person if you talked about your feelings. None of it helps. How about just start with, we were hardwired to need the role of a father, preferably our own, but a father in our life. When it's not there, it does create a wound. That's why it's called the father wound. Maybe you had the full negative side of the coin. Dad was abusive. Dad was violent. Dad abused mum. Dad was a drunkard that we were all scared of. And the people have got those stories, of course. And it creates a trauma. It creates a wound. And so here's the biggest impact in my viewpoint. The biggest impact of some expression of fatherlessness and the trauma it creates is a lack of identity formation. How do I know I'm a good man if no one tells me I'm a good man? There's this powerful scene in the movie Saving Private Ryan, which I don't know about you guys, but I love war movies. I go through these patches where I'll watch like war movies like 19 nights in a row until I run out of all my favorites, and then I come back in another year, right? Saving Private Ryan, one of the greatest war movies of all time, Tom Hanks, etc. And it bounces from the end of the man's life to his time at war and then back to his end of life, where I believe the scene is they're in attendance at a comrades, I shouldn't use comrade, that's Russian, a war mate's funeral in what I think is Arlington Cemetery, the military cemetery there in the US. And this man, Private Ryan, who's now an old man, very, very late in life, shuffling along with his wife, and they've just been to the funeral service of his great mate. He turns to his wife and with tears in his eyes, very, very powerful. He turns to his wife and he says to her, tell me I'm a good man. Now, I know it's acting, I know it's fictional, but it's true to life as well. And it's painting the story that even an old man needs to hear the right words from the right voice. That there's this old man who is still craving Did I do enough to get it right? Where do we get it from? We get it from our dad, or we don't get it. Identity formation is the biggest trauma. And this is why we're seeing a generation of young people growing up mighty confused. This is the reason, this is the dominant reason why we have epidemic levels of gender dysphoria, where people don't know who they are. They don't know if they're coming or going. They don't know if they're Arthur or Martha, to use an old Turner phrase. They don't know their left from their right. Why? Because they haven't been told. Another metaphor, we all carry smartphones around in our pockets, right? It doesn't matter which brand, they're all essentially the same concept. And what's true of all of them is the dominant feature on all phones the last 15 years has become the camera. It's got nothing to do with talking. In fact, a lot of your generation, nearly poop the bed when the phone rings because there might be a human on the other end. Yeah. Newsflash, there is a human on the other end. That's why it's ringing.
That could be changing real soon.
Well, it could be AI, right? So, but you get my point, right? People are afraid of these interpersonal connections, but that's what the phone was supposed to be. It became a camera. But no matter how good the devices have gotten, to this day, and every iteration since the first, since 2007, when Steve Jobs walked out on that stage for the first iPhone, the best and most powerful camera faces away from the user. The selfie camera is never better in its tech specs than the facing outward camera. And this is the problem we've got going on in life, is that people are trying to self-identify. You can fight it all you want. You cannot self-identify. Yeah. You don't even know what your appearance is like without the assistance of a mirror. No reflection, no concept. In our relationships and our identity formation, our dominant definer is that role or the absence of a role of a father figure. Now, am I saying mums can't do it? Not at all. A lot of mums do a lot of great work and do a great job in doing the part they can do. Yeah. But our mums cannot be men, and we don't want them to be. Right? If my mum comes home telling me she's a man, I don't have enough time on this episode.
Take a minute, Andrew.
Sorry, Kitty.
You get my point, right? So, number one, acknowledge we need the role of our dads in our lives.
Yeah.
Just because some have failed does not mean we chuck out the entire demographic class.
That's right.
Which is what a lot of the world's trying to do.
Yeah.
We need them. Number two, acknowledge you might have a father wound in your history. We fight that because it's a protection mechanism. Yeah. Because if we admit it, what we're saying to ourselves and to the world is, I still need something from that guy that I hate now.
Yeah.
And it feels stronger and more independent to say, I don't need him for nothing. Well, in your adulthood, that might be largely true, but your soul is still disagreeing with you, no matter how much you protest. So we need dads, acknowledge it in yourself, recognize the biggest trauma is the lack of identity formation. I've got an 11-year-old son. I've got an almost 19-year-old daughter. Because I wanted to do something for them as a dad that I didn't receive from mine, and I'm not throwing shade at my dad. He's passed away 4 years ago now. And this is not a statement about his failings. It's a statement about what I wanted for my own children. I did not hear him or have him look me in the eye and say, son, I love you and I'm proud of you. Now, again, some of our viewers will be like, oh, here we go, the soppy love you bit. Serious? You're going to tell me you're a human and you don't want to be loved by the people you care about most? What nonsense. Young men, we got to push that rhetoric away. That is not helping you. I didn't hear it. So I made a decision. When I have children one day, they're hearing it all the time. Why? Because I don't want them to suffer through the question marks I suffered through. I don't want them to have the self-talk of, I think he loves me. I'm pretty sure he loves me. I think he's proud of me. I hope he's proud of me. Not 100% certain. So my kids hear it all the time. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I break it down into nuanced things. I say, I'm not proud of you because you scored a goal at soccer today, mate. I'm proud of you when you got on the field and tried.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you because you want to be part of a team. Yeah. I'm proud of you first because you're my son. And then when you do great stuff, I get excited about that too. Yeah. So that stuff comes because it's that role that gives us our identity. Yeah. One last comment on it, because it's a big subject field, but we've got to open up conversation about it. There is no healing from that if you don't acknowledge it and you don't open it up and talk about it. And realistically, if you've identified I didn't have it and I'm willing to admit that I need it, there's a lot you can do by taking action and going and finding it.
Yeah.
Find a mentor.
Good.
Find a coach. Find someone ahead of you in business. Find an extended family member. Reach out to someone and say, could we catch up from time to time? Just want to chat to you about life, right? It's a huge subject. Super question.
What do we look for, after we've acknowledged and accepted the gaps that our own father has had in our lives? How do we then pick the right mentor? What things should we be looking for as young men?
I think for me, the dominant thing would be, because I'm 50. We know that. I say it all the time. Maybe I'm still coming to terms with it. It's probably my own personal therapy
He's been
moment,
saying that
right?
for 50 years.
I think he wants us to say, really? No way.
You don't look 50. You don't look a day over 53. So I've lived a while, right? My point is this: despite being deep into middle age, what still hasn't changed since I was a little boy and as long as I can remember is the desire for people to be in my corner because they want to be in my corner.
Yeah.
The end. So should you choose based on skill and proof? Sure. And look, I have this matrix of thought that I go through. I literally break it down when I talk to people or write to them about choosing a mentor. And I say to them, you want 4 things. I say you want gift, you want skill, you want experience, you want mastery. They're the 4. Gift is, was the person born to do it? Or have they just seen a little ad on Facebook, become a life coach in 4 hours? I'm never going to that life coach in 4 hours. Took me 50 years to learn the lessons I've picked up, right? Gift. Skill, have they taken that gift and trained it? Have they worked on it? Experience, have they been doing it for a long time? Mastery, are they bloody good at what they do? Shown only by results. There's no other proof except for the pudding, right? So definitely pay attention to skill and results. But for me, step 1 would be, I need to believe you want me to win.
Yeah, that's good.
I've got a few friends, and I, that sounded sad. It wasn't meant to. But I mean it. I have a few friends. I don't have a lot of friends. My vocation has not afforded me the opportunity to have lots of friends, not close ones. And my personality, I don't want lots of friends. I've got a few. But the few that I know are friends, I am certain they're in my corner because they care about me, they love me, they want me to win.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's good.
So finding a mentor, you got to believe that first.
Yeah, that's good.
Because the content that mentor will give you, you can find 70 to 80% of it online.
Yeah.
A really good mentor has got a handle on 20 to 30% that you won't hear from anybody else. You can get a lot of content from some person you've never even met. But you want a real mentor in your fathering journey, your manhood journey, or whatever, find someone who's in your corner that convinces you, I want you to win because I just want you to win. And when you do, I will stand back and join everybody else clapping you, and I will pretend that you did it without me.
That's great.
That's a dad.
Good.
That's a dad.
Really good.
That's what we're all aching for.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you choose a mentor.
Great. That's good. Thanks.
That's so good. I've got a question on sort of like distinguishing genuine masculinity and I guess the fanciful idea of like toxic masculinity.
Yes.
For guys that are like exploring genuine masculinity for the first time and sort of had that reawakening of like, oh, okay, this is actually something that is desirable for my character. Yep. How can they distinguish like genuine positively like affecting masculinity from like role models like Andrew Tate or people like that?
Yes. It's another great question. There's a few things people can do. Number 1 is start with look at the evidence. Would you, when you're listening to someone who's giving you a response to that, would you want a life like theirs or parts of it? Is there anything about their life that makes you go, yeah, I hope one day I'd like to, in their marriage or their parenting or their business? Is there any evidence of that? If there's none, that's a huge warning signal about whatever comes out of their mouth. So look at evidence to start with. Number 2 is I would avoid, in a heartbeat, avoid lamestream media. It's all got an agenda. Even the right side of political conversations have got a built-in agenda these days. There's no neutrality of, like, journalism died. There's no such thing as journalism. There isn't. All there is the opinion section of the newspaper. That's all that's left. Well, that's a tiny bit unfair. That's almost all that's left. There's very little real journalism left. So don't go to online sources for these kinds of things. Go to real people with real journeys and real results would be the first thing. And then I would say from that point, you got to come back to a plumb line. How, so I'm talking to 2 builders / tradesmen here out of 3 on the lounge, and this guy's a highly skilled technician in his own business. How do you know where to measure anything on a job site without a starting reference point? Now, you'll be able to help me with this, but there's an icon, there's a shape that you use when you are flicking out a frame on a job site. What's that? I can't remember the actual word and the phrasing, but it's an old school Latin word, and essentially what it means is it's your reference point to take all other measurements from. So when you open up a plan, as you guys know, and you walk onto a job site and there's a concrete slab there and you've got to stand the frame, you don't just pull the frames off the pack and go, oh, this looks like a wall somewhere at the back. Right?
I don't know. It's pretty common.
Well, actually, for those playing along at home, there are a few builders, but there's a list in the description below. No, but if you do it right, you don't have a guess and go, this looks like it belongs in this corner of the slab. No. Every single measurement gets its definition from the original reference point.
Yeah, it's called the datum point.
The datum point. Thank you very much. For those who don't know, the datum point is a marker on a concrete slab when it's built with that kind of construction where the frame takes its reference from. If you don't know the datum point, you cannot have confidence about a single other measurement. Now, you might get it right by a little bit of luck, but you don't know for sure. When it comes to defining real masculinity versus a lot of the other stories, you need a datum point. What's the best datum point? The best datum point, in my view, as a Christian man, is the man Jesus Christ. A perfect man in proof, in legacy, in resume, in reputation, in story. Even a non-Christian person finds it hard to argue with the man's character.
Right. Very true.
Come down a level or 300. Find a good man. Because any good, strong, noble, values-based man can become a datum point for you. If you know your datum point, another old school building analogy is your plumb line, all right, which is denoted by a plumb bob, a heavy lead weight with a pointy end that would hang from a string, and eventually momentum would go out of the plumb bob and it would settle. And once it settles, the point of that plumb bob is giving you perfect perpendicular. Not close, perfect perpendicular. No plumb line, no plumb bob, no datum point. You haven't got a hope in hell of defining real masculinity.
Love it.
Find a datum point.
Awesome. I love that.
The builders love that one. Oh,
I'm not a builder.
the
I'm
builders
loving
feel
it.
like going to get a quarter pounder
Get me on
now.
the job site, mate. Like, where's the tool belt? Let's go.
Yeah, let's
I'm
get
ready.
some tools out and build
Credit
stuff.
to you though, you capture all the content for builders, so you know what we're talking about, brother.
We're all in it
We got
together.
time for maybe one more each.
Oh,
Got
I'm
any other
jumping
burning
in, I'm
questions?
jumping in.
Do it.
All right, something I like to ask a lot of people, I guess I look up to.
Yes.
What would you say to your younger self if you could go back in time?
What would I say to my younger self?
And that could be at any
About
stage.
anything?
It could be like 15 years old, 20 years old, whatever kind of sparks in your head that will help someone on the other end of this
Yes.
screen that's watching.
Yeah, okay. Can I say a few things?
Go for it.
I would say to my younger self, I'd say the road is hard. And I'd pair that with don't jettison your goals and your dreams. Keep having them, but the road's hard. It's got potholes. It's got curves. It's not a smooth path. If I knew that better from the outset, I would have been better prepared. That's one thing I'd say to my younger self. Another thing I'd say, and this sounds a little bit fluffy, but I'll qualify it. I would say to my younger self, I'd say, when you get there, 40, 50, 60, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. You'll be all right. Learn to sift what actually matters versus the fluff, and be willing to let go. I'd say to myself, you don't need a lot of friends. You need a few principle-based, character-based, values-based mates. If you've got 2 or 3 of them, you're a lucky man. I'd probably say one other thing, and I picked this one because I think I did say this, and I've tried to live by it. And that is to say, do what is right, no matter what personal price you've got to pay. And I've paid some. More than others, probably more than some others, more than all others, certainly not. But in my own journey of manhood, I've paid some high prices. And God willing, having the strength to do it again, I'd pay the same prices again. Why? Because what matters to me at this stage of my journey more than rewards or wins or victories, and I've had a few, and I've had a few heavy losses too. Yeah. But what matters is I can go to sleep at night with my conscience. Yeah. I don't have to put my conscience on the shelf when I go to bed, which doesn't mean I've gotten everything right. I've made some mistakes, thankfully not too many mega ones, but I've made some mistakes that I kick myself about. I've made some mistakes that I am a little bit embarrassed about. I've made some mistakes that I swore to myself I would never make. But here's what I can do, and I say this with all honesty and sincerity. I can go to bed at night with my conscience. I have tried to live by right motives and right values, and that means more to me now than a pot of gold or any other thing. So I'd say a few things. That'd be some of them.
No, I love that. I think that will be some great advice for young guys and middle-aged and old guys out there, I think.
Across the board.
Yep.
Would you say that there is a lack of good, strong male leadership in today's world?
Oh, you've been primed for this one. He's been salivating over this one.
Where's the can? You just opened it.
It's gone.
Yes.
And as someone, or all 3 of us, in our own ways, we're all in leadership in different contexts. How do we raise that next generation of young men so that we no longer have that gap
Love it.
of good leadership?
I love that question. And I know you're a little bit leading in your question there, and I don't mind that. But I do love the question. Do I think we have an absent, like never before? Like never before. Not so long ago, longer than you 3 and longer than me, but still not so long ago, 15-year-old Australian young men were telling lies for the chance to go to war. We've got 15-year-olds today who won't leave the house unless they know it's going to be a safe space. Now, I'm not mocking those 15-year-olds who think they want a safe space. I'm lamenting us societally.
Well, it's not the 15-year-old's fault.
Correct. So is there a leadership vacuum? A grotesque vacuum like I think we haven't seen since the Dark Ages, pre-industrial age by centuries, which also presents the opportunity. I am indescribably frustrated by the lack of leadership, politically, in media, in sport, in family, in religion, which is a loose phrase that I'm using for capturing more viewers than just one other brand. The lack of leadership is shocking. It's so problematic, I get tempted on a repeated, regular basis to run for the top job in the country. Now, I'm not making a silly statement. I'm being 100% honest and serious with you. Have I got political training? Nope. But I got a hell of a lot of common sense training. I'm so irritated by the shocking absence of leadership and the habitual acquiescing of pseudo-leaders in our world, mostly in public spaces, political, business, sport, education, religion, mostly in public spotlight. I have no desire for a political career. But if someone came to me tomorrow and said, Andrew, we can sculpt a fast track that if you could win enough votes, we can fast track you to higher echelons of political world, I'd probably have a crack at it. My wife would probably leave me because she has less than zero interest in being in, which I understand.
Yeah.
Because I want it, Are you joking? I want to play golf and go fishing. But the friggin' idiots running the joint are making bait so expensive, none of us can go, right? Would I have a shot at it if I thought I was a chance? I'd get seriously tempted. Yeah. And if I was there in that kind of a space, I would add two things to come to the second part of your question. What do we do for ourselves as, well, you guys as young men, but for middle-aged men and trying to prototype to others? Two things that are high, high, high on the list. And, you know, let me use some slightly more colourful language. To all the men, young or middle-aged or old, who get gifted a platform or a context where they have a title or a role to lead, for crying out loud, have some bloody courage to make some decent decisions. Good. I am nauseated beyond my ability to articulate it about men who get gifted, because they do get gifted. Yeah. There's not a single man on the planet who's good enough to get himself to a spot without others. Not a one. Yeah. You get gifted a platform to lead others and influence others, and then you go like jelly and become spineless. Shame on you. Yeah. Shame on you in multitude portions. Give your badge back and go home. This is going to be slightly controversial, but I've never been averse to it, so here we go. There is a reason why the Trump dynamic is working in America. Now, do I like him as a person? I don't know him. I love the fact that everyone's got an opinion on whether they like him. We don't know him. Come on. We decide whether we like what we see on a screen about. We don't know him. No, we don't. So I don't know him either, right? And I'm not even saying that I necessarily resonate with all of his policies. Number one, I don't know all of his policies. I know some of them. Here's what I do resonate with. He's got a big pair of cojones. Yeah. You can go to a rally and get shot in the ear almost through your skull, without question, arranged by the other team that you're campaigning against. And your first thought is to get your 78-year-old body off the floor bleeding and pump your fist in the sky and say, fight? That dude's got some balls. I'd be tempted to vote for him without reading his policy sheet because he's got some courage. Yeah. Number one. Great. As you guys, as young men, and you are these kinds of guys, right? So I don't need to tell Granny how to suck eggs here, but to those who are watching, teach the choir how to sing. Pick whatever little analogy you want, right? To young blokes watching, have some courage. Good. Will you pay a price in your peer group? Maybe. And who cares? Who cares? Now, I'm used to this. I've been getting attacked over my opinions since year 5. It's a vivid memory for me. I remember standing up for something that was based on principles and values and the entire classroom turning on me as a 10-year-old. And somehow I was gifted with this capacity just to get reflective and go, wow, that was interesting, wasn't it? As a 10-year-old, I'm like, wow, they turned on me in a hurry, didn't they? It was almost like they planned it. And this kept repeating through my life. I'll never forget being on a bus on a university excursion and somehow this political debate erupted and I'm sitting in the corner going, just in my head I'm going, just leave me alone. I just wanted to go. I just wanted to take the bus ride, please. But inevitably it came to me. And so I was like, do you really want me to answer that question? I said, no. So I answered the question. Surprise, surprise, they didn't like my position on it. The entire bus turned on me. I'm talking some of them screaming and yelling at them like they were manifesting, some character from hell. And I thought, so I made a decision to myself. I thought there's a price to pay for being courageous. I'm paying it. Yeah. I'm paying it. I'll pay a price for videos like this. Oh no, people get in the comments section and call me names. Mate, if we're going to be men that's going to turn the world around, if the most we can cope with is one negative comment on a social media feed, we better go find some spine in a hurry. So number one would be courage. Lead with courage. Have the balls to go, I think this is the way we should go, and I will lead out and I will get on the front line and I'll face the ammunition first and I'll do everything I can to get you guys to a good outcome. Yeah. Have some courage in your leadership. I mean, let me just give this disclaimer. This is not a comment pro or against Liberal or Labor here in this country, but if anyone out there actually thinks our current Prime Minister is a man of courage and spine, your head is in the proverbial sand. Come on. I don't want to follow that guy to the line up in the drive-thru to buy some food, let alone follow him anywhere else. I'll give you an example. I'm old enough to have voted when people like John Howard and Bob Hawke were around. I didn't vote for Bob Hawke, but geez, I'd have him back in a heartbeat. Why? Because he actually believed what he decided. We need courage, big time. That's the first one. The second thing would be, again, you get gifted leadership, you get gifted position, and, you know, I think all three of you have heard me say this. I am in no position of apology whatsoever on my YouTube channels and other things. I'm doing it because I want a voice. I'm not putting it out there going, oh, I hope nobody gets too offended. That's not my goal. I'm trying to reach millions of men. Oh, how dare you say millions? All right, well, I'll change it. I'm trying to reach tens of millions of men. I am not apologizing for that pursuit.
Yeah.
Right? So if you get gifted a position where you can influence or lead 1 million or even one, the first one was courage. The second one was do it for their sake.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that bugs the living daylights out of me. When was the last time you felt convinced about any public leader that they were standing in a gap for your best outcome?
Oh, because you know that they're just wanting to get re-elected at the next thing.
Their face is in the trough.
It's
Most of them.
Yeah.
Probably not all of them, but those, whether they're politicians or media personalities or entertainment celebrities or sports profile, whoever they are, if your own motive is true that you want everyone else to win, open your friggin' mouth about it and tell us. Now, you can tell I get quite fired up about it. Not going to apologise.
Yeah.
Because we have got a desert. It's a famine of people who will have some courage in leadership. And number two, lead the way you lead for other people's outcome.
Yeah, great.
Imagine a politician rising in this country right now who had some spine and could get the populace convinced, I don't need this. I've got money in my pocket.
Yeah.
I'm already famous. I'm not doing this for me. I'm just because I want Australians to win. That person would win in a landslide if they were believable.
Yeah.
Then all they've got to do is follow through and I'm still doing it for those reasons.
100%.
We are all sick to death of pseudo leaders. We've had a gutful. We can change it though. You can change it, you can change it, you can change it, I can change it, they can change it.
Yeah.
How do we change it? Make up your mind what kind of leader you're going to be. Be a followable one with some courage.
Yeah.
Of course, opinions you have are going to be unpopular. Oh, well, I don't want to say this or that because if I say this, I upset them. If I say this, hello, everything in life is prejudice. When you pick McDonald's over KFC, you are prejudicing. The Olympic Games, for crying out loud, is prejudice. Go Sweden, go Sweden. What are you saying you hate the rest of Scandinavia? No, I'm just pro-Sweden, you know. Get on with it, accept it. Of course, people are going to disagree with you. If I could say it straight, be a man. Put your big boy pants on and have some courage. Will people attack you? Of course they will. And? Oh, got attacked today. People put comments on my Instagram. Must have hit a raw nerve. Must have raised a point that needed to be talked about. Double down and go back and say it again tomorrow. Look at the people who are popular. Just to pick media.
Yeah.
Why is Rogan so popular? His aerodynamic head, which I'm headed towards as well. Hopefully, if that's the key, I'll shave this sucker too. Right? No.
You get the followers too on the podcast.
He's got certain opinions, right? Which some people love, some people hate. The point is, he's hardcore committed to the ones he's got. There's two big factors that's driving UFC being the fastest growing sport in the world. Number one is bloodlust. People just love watching someone get smacked in the head. Rightly or wrongly, people love it. And even better, a roundhouse kick to the chin. People love that gear. When someone's out cold before they hit the camp, they're not advisable for people in daycare work, but you know, that's not the other reason. Have a guess.
Joe Rogan's influence.
Well, similar, Dana White. Dana White is the biggest driving factor of that sport. Why? Because he goes, I'm going to do me. If you don't like me, I don't care. He tells that story online where one of his advertising friends, he brought Trump into one of the UFC events. Within like 3 minutes, he got a message from one of their big advertisers of UFC because he posted it on his Instagram. Take that video down or we can't support you.
Yeah.
What? Dana, now we have to believe him, take his word at face value. He says he got on the phone to him and told him to F off. He goes, listen, don't ever F and try that on me again. He goes, this is how this works. I vote for who I want to vote for. You vote for who you want to vote for. This is how this thing works. And this is America. this is America. But he's right.
Yeah.
And people Love it. Have courage. Do it for other people. Long answer to a short question, my specialty. Were you going to say something else after that?
I was going to say, you always taught me, because that second, your number 2, you were alluding to stewarding what you've been given well.
Yes.
And you talked about having a platform, and you've always taught me that. And you said that with your role, and you say it about what you're doing right now is you've been given something to steward right now, and you're only the caretaker for a season. And so I think that's the best thing we can do as young men is realize we're only caretaking what we've been given for a season. So we better do it pretty well.
And life's short. We don't know if we're here next week. Hang it, mate. Same way you played sport. I know you did, you angry little monster. I did too. Leave it on the field. Empty the tank. Leave it on the field.
Yeah.
100%. Marcus, you got the closer.
Answered all the questions that I had for me in my head. I guess to step away from the leadership sort of perspective, if you're just, I guess you call yourself a regular guy, but you have ideas about the truth and you have these things forming in your mind and you think you have a polarizing view to the world, how do you, how do you hold those views and not get persuaded by, I guess, what everyone else thinks?
Yes. Great question. There's a couple of real practical things. Number one, keep on reinforcing it to yourself. So I think you mentioned before, check the source. If you trust the source, which is evidence-based, which becomes a plumb line, all that stuff we talked about, if you trust the source, keep feeding from it. Like if you found fresh water and you're a mountaineer, why would you not go back to the same stream? Feed from the same source, reinforce it, because then it becomes solid, it becomes unbreakable. No one on this planet is going to legislate me out of this idea masculinity is bestowed by masculinity. Oh, Andrew, have you heard the feminists are upset? What's your point? I don't even know if there's a point there. I have doubled down on that belief so hard. You can't lever it out of me. That would be the first thing. Keep on feeding from the same source, right? And then once you feel like you've got that in place, the second practical would be understand your own timing. Right? See, like I said, I'm a middle-aged man. I'm doing this not for a hobby. I'm doing this because I'm trying to reach a demographic in the world. I'm ready to lay it all out there. That doesn't mean you necessarily always do that. There's a scripture verse that says, be careful about casting your pearls to swine. And in fact, some translations say it as strong as don't do it. Right? So if I was sat here in a room with, well, I've been in this situation. I've been called into people's workplaces where the boss calls me in and says, could you come and like coach some of our younger guys? And, you know, and I get there and I can pick the scene in a heartbeat. They're not interested. They're just thinking, how long have we got to put up with this before we can go home? I'm not giving those people my best stuff. Come on. Are you joking me? Because it won't be worth anything. It'll go straight in this ear and out the other. So sometimes it's smarter just to package it down inside for a little while. Just pick your moments. You don't have to say everything all the time, but there is a moment for saying it all. And as you grow more mature and wiser, you start to decipher which moment is this? Was this a moment that I've been on a convergence pathway with? Right? So you can bet yours truly, if someone's willing to give me a bigger megaphone, I'm going to turn it on, mate. If someone comes to me and says, hey, we love your show, we want to pick it up and spread it for you, that's not going to be my moment I shrink back. Out in the street, someone finds me and wants to have an argument with me about feminism, well, I'm probably going to play a straight bat and go, okay, oh, cool, interesting. Yep, sweet, all right, you have a great day. Pick your moments so you can hold it really tight and really convicted, but that doesn't mean you've got to spill it all the time everywhere. Yeah. Cool?
It's good. Love
Smart questions. Are you sure you're in your 20s? No, they're really great questions. I think that's great. I hope that there's other young blokes out there who are thinking this way and maybe they've never articulated it, but maybe they heard your question and went, oh, I've thought that too. That'd be my hope. So look, if you've been watching this episode and you're loving this, then I'd love you to, first of all, drop a comment down below and tell me, what are the questions? Are you a young man who's got these questions? Are you a dad? Are you a mum who's wondering about your own son? What are the questions our young men are desperately wanting to ask? And what are we doing about providing answers for them? Look, I'd love to see you in another video real soon, and we can talk about more of this journey of masculinity.